Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania all share a border with Russia. The three countries are staunch supporters of Ukraine and recently ended their ties to Russian energy earlier this month. I want to welcome Latvian Foreign Minister Baiba Braže, who joins us now from Latvia's capital. Good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Linda. Great to talk to you.
So if you listen to certain officials within the Trump administration, Russia looks likely, at least at this early stage of negotiations, to potentially come out ahead of Ukraine. You recently met with President Trump's representative for Ukraine. What's your view?
Listen, I think all these speculations are speculations at this stage. I cannot imagine that President Trump can have anyone coming on top of him in terms of negotiations or outcomes. From what I see, peace through strength in the US politics is pretty prominent. So it's very hard to imagine the outcomes of this negotiation being different. So full trust to the US. As for the Baltic states, we have been NATO and EU members for 20 years. We are one of the strongest supporters in terms of all defense, energy, anything that there is of the US. We have big communities of Latvians, Estonians, and Lithuanians in the United States. We are fully connected with the US, so I'm sure our interests as NATO, but also as bilateral partners, will be well represented in this negotiation.
Your country borders Russia. If Russia can take and keep territory in Ukraine, how much concern is there that he may do the same with other countries? And can you give us a sense of the sort of security threats that you're already countering from Russia and potentially what you believe to be Vladimir Putin's end goal?
Again, we as NATO member states for 20 years, of course, we have been part and parcel of shaping the new NATO's defense plans, which are meant and which are exercised on a daily basis. We have US troops in the Baltics, we have US partnerships, defense partnerships in the strongest possible way. So I don't think President Putin would have any intention to start a war with NATO. That would be quite a different type of war than what he's conducting currently, the aggression against Ukraine. And let's not forget, Ukraine's will is decisive. Ukraine has the strongest army in Europe, almost 1 million strong. It has the largest territory, it has strategic depth. President Putin did not gain his objectives through the war. He will try through peace talks. Those objectives go beyond Ukraine, that is quite clear. He has already indicated that. But again, I don't see any indications that he's going to get what he wants. But let's not forget Russian tactics. They will present ultimatums, they will demand maximum, and unfortunately, sometimes there is someone in the history who has been ready to compromise on the Russian demands. So I think in this case, we have to be very ready to make sure that that doesn't happen.
We've already heard from the leaders of the UK and Poland. Both nations say they're willing to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine. Are you hearing that other nations will likely follow suit?
We currently, together with the other allies at NATO, are sort of in a classified way analyzing certain parameters and discussions. Again, I don't want to go into any depth or into any speculations about it. So quite clearly, Ukraine's and Europe's and Euro-Atlantic community's interest is very strong that whatever is the outcome of the peace negotiations, that Ukraine's will is respected, that it's a long and just peace, and that there is no war that can restart in any foreseeable future, whether in Ukraine or elsewhere on European continent. But again, NATO is strong, as Pete Heck said, the defense secretary said, NATO has to become stronger, more military-oriented, a lethal alliance. So we fully agree. We also fully agree with the US point that Europe needs to raise defense spending. Our defense spending is close to 4%, and we are still adding to it. And we expect all the allies going up to a certain percentage that guarantees the ability to defend ourselves.
When you look at how much nations have spent on Ukraine, the US has given more to Ukraine than any other nation by a long shot. We saw the hastily organized meeting between European leaders in Paris today, when, of course, Europe learned that Russia and the US were having these talks about the future of Ukraine. Can Europe defend Ukraine without Russia, without the US?
Let's get some facts straight. In terms of military aid, US is the biggest aid provider. Lots of it goes back into the US defense production, and lots of factories have been restarted. Lots of parts and states have really benefited from that in terms of economy, in terms of production. So that's very, very good. Also, a lot of allies are buying US defense products. So that is also very good. While Europe is the overall biggest aid provider to Ukraine in total numbers, not only military, but also humanitarian, economic, and other aid. Second biggest military aid provider is the Nordic-Baltic region, the Nordic-Baltic Eight countries. So we have gone way above the percentages of others. Latvia gives to Ukraine about 1% of GDP, and a quarter of that percent of GDP is military aid. We gave our Stingers, we gave other stuff to Ukraine even before the war started in 22, because we saw the threat. And Russia has been identified as a threat by the whole alliance of NATO. So again, we put our money where our mouth is. We expect others to do that, but also we will continue providing aid and support to Ukraine, because we believe that's the best way to counter Russia's ambitions and aggression.
Baiba Braže, we appreciate your time and that you've had with us today. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We are in it together.
Absolutely.